A whole new crop of freshmen are invading college basketball. It's time to draft them.
You are Locked On College Basketball, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? Happy Thursday. Welcome into the Locked On College Basketball Podcast, the only daily national college hoop show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Shader, joining me at the place to get your college basketball content every single day. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks for making us your listen or watch to get your Thursday going around this lunchtime hour the right way. Reminder, you can catch every episode ad-free on Amazon Music. And by the way, special shout out to all the everydayers who are here with us and all the great members of the Locked On College Basketball Discord. Hanging out with me today is our good buddy, Leif Thulin. He's fresh off a tennis lesson. That's right, Leif out there doing the Lord's work. Leif told me he's growing a mustache right now. For all of those of you who are watching this on YouTube, Leif, lean in and let's see if anyone can see that peach fuzz on your upper lip, because I'm still having trouble.
I started yesterday, but soon it'll be a Grant Nelson-esque stash. We'll see how it goes.
We need some follow-up. Go ahead.
I don't know. It's I shaved yesterday and thought I'd get adventurous. I'm blonde. We'll see what comes out. Next week, I'll have something better to show.
All right. So stand by for next week, gang. We'll see if we get a little bit more there on the upper lip. 1 day growth. I understand that. All right. Here's what we're doing today. With the NBA draft in the rear view, I thought it would be a great idea for us to start learning more about this year's incoming freshmen, at least some of the top ones. If you were with us on last week's show when Leif was with us, we did project ahead a little bit to some of the freshmen, but I thought it would be a fun and engaging way to do it by having a draft. So that's exactly what Leif and I are going to do today. We are going to draft a starting five of all freshmen, a bench player, and then one head coach. And so here's the rules. The players all have to be true freshmen, meaning no red shirts. And also, Leif, if it's okay with you, I'm just thinking of this in real time, not guys that have been playing professionally in Europe that are coming over. You good with that?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. So, and then with the coach, it doesn't have to be a rookie coach, like first-time head coach, just a head coach in his first year at his current school. So if you want Fran McCaffrey, you can get Fran McCaffrey. There you go. And the other stipulation we're going to have, gang, is that, like when you have like a first team all freshman team, it doesn't necessarily have to be a team that you would put on the floor. We're actually going to do this where it's got to be a team that you as a coach would put out on the floor and feel at least comfortable about or be able to make an argument for why you would take them. So that's the rules. Leif, anything I'm leaving out there?
No, but I'm curious to see how to go about it. This is one where I usually have a game plan coming into a draft. I do not have one today.
Yeah, I've got a thought or two, but not much. And so we'll see what happens. All right, Leif, we are not going snake. We're just going back and forth because that's easier for everyone to keep tabs on, like Leif just picked. So it's Isaac's turn. But we are going to flip a coin to see who gets first pick. I've got a trusty 2017 nickel here, so we'll see what happens. You ready for this? All right, here it is. Call it Leif, heads or tails.
Tails never fails.
Tails never fails, except for right now, because that's heads, baby.
Okay.
And I am not deferring. I'm going to stick with that first pick. So nuts to you, Leif Thulin. Okay, so man, I know at some places Darryn Peterson has usurped AJ Dybantsa as number 1 overall. I got to stick with AJ Dybantsa as my first pick. And so AJ Dybantsa coming to BYU, getting all that Marriott money. Good luck being a Mormon for a year. We'll see how that goes. And that's going to be a lot of fun joining the LDS church there. I don't know. You don't have to join it, whatever. But AJ Dybantsa in everything he does, I think just makes a ton of sense, both sides of the floor. And I like him as a building block to start my team. Leif, what do you think?
Well, I'm happy you took AJ because I was Darryn.
Perfect.
Darryn Peterson's that dude. He can score the rock with the best of them. And when he's played AJ, when he's played Cam Boozer, his team has won. And that matters to me when you're talking about the best player in a class that's loaded. Like, yeah, you could make an argument like maybe his team was better. In this case, I don't know if you can make that argument. Both those teams were loaded. They had other college players. Darryn Peterson's did too, but he was the best player in the biggest game, the biggest moments against them. He scored 61 against AJ. give me Darryn Peterson, best point guard to go to Lawrence. Frank Mason won National Player of the Year in 2017. So Darryn Peterson would have been my first pick. I was hoping I'd get one because I wanted a 1-3 combo, but I'm happy about my pick here at number 2.
Yes, and I like it because that does allow me to get Cam Boozer, who I'm going to take with my second pick. You talk about winning, man. This dude has done it at every level. You and I talked about that some on last week's show, but goodness gracious, a front court. Well, I might play AJ on the wing there probably. So AJ Dybantsa and Cam Boozer together at the 3 and 4, kind of switchable between those. I think is going to be great. In some regards, it might have made a lot of sense for me now that I'm thinking about it to have taken Darryn first, made you pick between AJ and Cam, and then I get the other, and then I kind of got a front court, back court combo there.
That was my plan, and I was hoping we'd do Snake, and I would defer to number 2 and 3 because then I could load it up. But I think
if I had taken Darryn first, would you have gone Cam or AJ with the second pick?
I probably would have gone AJ, but I actually think Cam's going to be better sooner in college basketball.
Interesting.
I think
Why so?
AJ's got a higher ceiling. I think Cam's going to be better sooner because he's going to be more physically refined. He's going to use his body, carve out space, and he's going to chisel his way to the basket, and he's going to space up and shoot jumpers against bigger guys. And so I would have loved to have Darryn and Cam. That was my preference if I got 1 and 3 or in a stake. But that leaves me an interesting pick at 4 because I think conventional wisdom is Nate Ament, but I'm not there. I'm not there yet. And then you watch the U19s and you think Mikel Brown, but I already have Darryn Peterson. So I got to go with Koa Pete.
Oh, God, that's a good call.
To Arizona. He's a guy I've known about a long time because his older brother played football at Stanford and then played for the New Orleans Saints. And so he's been on my radar forever as a diehard Stanford fan. But Koa Pete gets downhill. Let's talk about a winner. He makes winning plays. He played in the state tournament with a broken hand, broken wrist. Dude's tough as nails. And he stood to me the most in the little of U19 I watched in terms of, hey, that's going to translate right away. He's going to be athletic enough to score. He's going to be physical enough to defend. And he just had it already. I think he's the 4th best player in college basketball. There's a guy I would have liked, but it would have been redundant for me.
Yeah, and the good news is I'm going to be able to get that guy in just a second. Leif, going back to that top 3 that we took, if these guys live up to the billing and do what we think they're going to do, it really is going to be interesting. I know we talked about it from a draft angle last week, but just thinking more about it, it's going to be really interesting to see how they go in terms of draft order, whether, just depending on how they play this year, team needs of those teams sitting in the top 3 or who might trade up. So I'm really interested to see. I really hope Darryn Peterson, AJ Dybantsa, and Cam Boozer all live up to the billing. And I just think it'll make for a really intriguing, like this year, there was zero drama in the top 2 picks in the NBA draft. And I wonder if we'll be sitting in that same spot come this time next year.
I agree. I think you're going to see a surge where AJ is actually threatened as the number 1 pick as opposed to Cooper Flagg. I think there was rumor. I don't think there was anyone truly making the decisions that really thought about Ace Bailey or Dylan Harper or VJ Edgecombe or Con Knipple for that matter that win in the top 5. I think this year there's going to be true discussions between each front office of who is better for us, who's actually better. Is it ceiling versus floor? And I think there's a discussion that can be made that Darryn Peterson and Cam Boozer are going to be better NCAA players, and maybe AJ's better in the NBA. But how often do you say, yeah, I believe in this guy more, even though this guy was better at a different level? And I think that's what's going to happen. I think if I were to make a bet, I think the most likely to be an NCAA All-American is going to be Cam Boozer. And Darryn Peterson is like, well, that's 1A, 1B. I think AJ is a tier below in terms of college basketball because of the role that he's going to play. He's going to have the ball, but they got a lot of mouths to feed. Whereas those guys, I think, are polished and less reliant on athletics traits and more into their basketball bags, so to speak. And they're going to have the ball in their hands all the time.
Yeah. Here's the other thing. I love that you went with Koa Pete. I know that he, like at 247, he finished 11th in this class. I think he's severely underrated. And I know like 11 is like still your elite, whatever. But I really feel like he should have been higher than that. And I think from a production standpoint, I know there's a whole truckload of great dudes in front of him, but I think he's better than 11 in my opinion.
I'm with you.
And crazy because Arizona has two top 5-star-ish guys. I think we talk so much about Duke and what they've got, but man, both Braden Burries and Koa Pete at Arizona. Leaf, let me make my final pick of this first segment, and then we will take a break. You talked about you've already got Darryn Peterson. I'm going to start my backcourt. I'm going to get Mikel Brown. I know Darius Acuff at some recruiting sites is rated above him, and I think he will be great at Arkansas. But my goodness, I was already enamored with Mikel Brown and what he's going to do for Pat Kelsey at Louisville. And then just seeing how he balled out at FIBA U19 World Cup, dude, all the more so. And so I love him being my point guard along with AJ Dybantsa and Cam Boozer. I think that's a nice little combo situation I got there. And part of the reason I was okay with missing on Darryn Peterson, and I think Mikel Brown is a step down from him. I'm not sure how large that step is, but I'm going to bring Mikel Brown to my team with my third pick.
It's a good pick. I got no qualms about that. I thought he was the best player in U19.
Yep, absolutely. He should. I think we talked about it last week, but he should have been the MVP of that thing over AJ Dybantsa, in my opinion. All right, guys, our draft is going to carry on. We've got our first 5 picks on the books. We got 5 more to make of our starting 5 lineup. So we're going to take a break, but when we come back, Leaf is going to make his third pick. This is going to give him a little moment to think about who he wants to take, give him a little bit of a breather, and then we'll be right back with you here on Locked On College Basketball. Right after I tell you about our good friends at FanDuel. Summer sports are in full swing, you guys, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action anyway, so why not make it more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned off at the beach. You can use FanDuel to track your favorite matchups, and plus, the app, it keeps it fresh with new daily promotions and fun ways to bet. It's easy to use, it's fast to pay out, and makes even regular season games feel like must-watch events. So whether you're placing a same-game parlay or watching a bet right into the 9th inning, FanDuel makes it feel like you're always part of the action. How about some early national championship odds? Leaf Purdue leads the way at plus 900. Houston second at plus 1,000. Duke, who we've just talked about some, at plus 1,300. And then the quintet of Florida, Kentucky, Michigan, St. John's, and UConn all at plus 1,700. Interesting odds there. If you're new to FanDuel, cool. New customers like you, if you bet $5 and that bet wins, you're going to get $150 bet in bonus bets. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Leif Thulin, Isaac Schade here with you. We're doing a freshman draft today. It's a lot of fun. We've got our first 5 picks in the book, the first half of our starting lineups. Let me recap it, and then we'll turn it over to Leif for his third pick in this draft. On my team, I've got AJ Dybantsa, Cam Boozer. I'm going to put them at my 3 and 4 temporarily. We'll see if I need to shuffle that around. And Mikel Brown at the 1. For Leif, he's got Darryn Peterson as his point guard, his 1, and then Koa Pete. I'm assuming for now you've got him at the 4, Leif, but we'll see if you want to shuffle him around. Let's go to you for the third pick of your team. Who you doing?
I'm going to corner the market on center on who I believe is going to be one of the best players that very few have really talked about, and I'm going Chris Sinak Jr.
Yeah, dang it.
He's an athlete, and I feel like he's underrated, but I look at some ranking services, and he's 7th overall. But you watch him play, and the dude's long, twitchy, tough, can shoot, rebounds like a madman. He's going to play at Houston, so he's going to be tough as nails. I think he's more skilled than any center they've had, and I think he's clearly the best center in this class. So I feel like I cornered the market here. My original goal of this exercise was I was going to try to get Peterson, Boozer, and Sinak no matter what. I was unable to obtain Boozer. I think Koa Pete's close to Cam Boozer, though. And I've at least feel pretty confident that I've gotten the best big man.
Dude, this is a great pick. And I'm very glad for you that that's where you went, because I was snatching him next for the exact same reason you did. It's kind of like, do you play fantasy football, Leaf?
I do.
You know how in this day and age, it's always like, all right, what running backs and receivers are going off the board? But mixed in with that, who is going to go to what player in the midst of that right now?
Yep.
Travis Kelce, right? It's like, when is Travis Kelce going to come off the board before all the rest of the tight ends are like 18 rounds later? And so you've just done that with Chris Sinak, and I think that's a brilliant pick by you. And basically what it means for me is I'm just going to now have to just wait around because there's not another center that I want that high. You know, there's Eric Ryba who's going to UConn, the German, but I might even just end up playing small here. And so we'll see what's going to happen. All right, Leif. All of that said, I need to reset a little bit here because I was thinking about taking Sinak. I think the thing to do for me is go and take best player on the board with Nate Ament. I think that's a smart play for me, and maybe just go small, move, just kind of have him and Cam Boozer in the front court along with AJ and just let the three of them kind of be interchangeable in some ways. And so just given what's available to me on the board here, I think that's probably the wisest play, and that's where I'm going to go. Give me Nate Ament with my 4th pick.
It's unfortunate because that's who I wanted. But I come with a backup plan. I've always got a contingency.
Well, you'd be a dumb GM to not, Leif, if we're being honest.
Even when I come in with no game plan like I usually have, and I don't get the first pick like I planned on having, I've got a backup for you. So I'm going to take Tunde Yesufu.
I like it.
Tunde Yesufu is the Anthony Edwards clone who looks like him, plays like him, idolizes him, and give me some dynamic athleticism, and he plays hard. That's the thing. Mm-hmm. Sometimes these guys have gone to Baylor, they play one way. And like VJ, everyone talks about his defensive upside. I think Yesufu's a better athlete because he's bigger. It's not necessarily that he's springier, but he's bigger, he's broader, he plays with more force, he gets downhill. So I have Darryn Peterson, who I think is the best player in the class, and he's going to be operating. He's going to be my star. I have Sinak control in the middle, and then I have the defensive and athleticism of Koa Pete and Tunde Yesufu. So I'm playing maybe not the best shooting team thus far, though Peterson can light it up, and Koa Pete can step out a little bit. But this is a team that's going to thrive on going downhill and getting in your face, playing tight defense. So it's not the team that I had envisioned building, but I like what I got so far.
Yeah, I mean, how could you not? I think that makes a ton of sense. Speaking of shooting, that's probably where I need to turn my attention next, because I've got, if I'm going to have this kind of small ball lineup, then I probably need to just get dudes that can move around. Man, I've got Mikel Brown already. There's a couple people I'm looking at here trying to make a decision. Yeah, I think I'm just going to go back to the backcourt, see what we can do. I'm going to grab Darius Acuff coming from IMG Academy. Point guard headed to Fayetteville, Arkansas, an hour and a half south of me. I just think this will be nice to pair up with Mikel Brown in my backcourt and just allow them to cook and just all be athletes. I mean, this is a crazy athletic team, and I think that's going to work really well for me.
I mean, there's only one basketball on the court, though.
I know that's the thing between him and Mikel. That's the problem is
Mikel, AJ, and Boozer plays winning ball. He swings the rock. Those three, don't play winning basketball, but they like the ball in their hands an awful lot.
It's true. That's a great point.
Nate Ament for I like his skill set, and he may be able to play away without the ball because he can shoot the ball. But the appeal for him is mostly his creation ability at slender 6'10". It's the fact that everyone that's 6'10" is slender as compared to Kevin Durant. And it's happened to Ace Bailey. It's happened to Brandon Ingram. It's happening to him again. That's why he's rising through the rankings. So I think while your team, I believe, has more talent than mine, which hurts me to say, I don't know how conducive it is to winning a basketball game because you got a lot of scorers.
My roster construction is suspect, Leif. I will definitely say that. I'm concerned about it. But I'm going to hope that I have John Calipari this thing and just put together a mix of talent that'll figure it out.
I too hope you John Calipari this thing and then therefore flame out in the first round.
Touche, my man. Touche.
All right. It ain't 2015 anymore.
Well, that team didn't win either. Okay, Leif.
I'm aware.
Wrap up your starting lineup. Who are you going with?
Now, see, that's the thing. I talked a big game there, but I don't have a great pick here.
Yeah, you know what? You should have been studying instead of giving me crap, you turd.
We'll see. I'll come up with some big answers. So I'll talk you through my pick as I go. I got my front court set. I got Koa Pete, Tunde Yesufu. I'm going to play at the 3, play with the smaller side. I'm going to take Elijah Arenas, assuming health.
Yep. Yes.
And Elijah.
Go ahead.
Elijah can score the rock, man, and he's tall. He may not be the athlete the rest of my team is, but that's all right because they can compensate for him. He can fill it up, and I needed a shooter, and he can really shoot the ball, and he's got some game as an individual creator. And while I said that your team, there's one basketball, but the issue that I'm having is my guys are slack. A couple of them are unselfish. I needed a true, authentic go-to scorer, and so I think I found one in Elijah Arenas.
I like that. Yeah, and to be honest, the health question was the only reason I didn't. Of course, it's hypothetical, and in this hypothetical world, I could have said Elijah Arenas is healthy. I want him, but I was trying to logic my way through it, so that's why I didn't take him. Okay, Leif, let us recap our starting fives here, and then we'll wrap up the show with our bench player and our coach. So, Leif's team: Darryn Peterson, Elijah Arenas in the backcourt. We got Tunde Yesufu at the 3, Koa Pete at the 4, and Chris Sinak at the 5. I've got a backcourt of, Mikkel Brown and Darius Acuff. I think they're going to have to be interchangeable between the 1 and the 1, basically. And then my wing and front court will be AJ Dybantsa, Cam Boozer, and Nate Ament. On the slender side, certainly I don't have any bangers in the post, so Chris Sinak's going to have his way against my guys, that's for sure. But we're just going to try to run you guys out the gym and hopefully come up with a win. What do you like about these starting fives?
I mean, your team's got a boatload of talent. Like if this were a first-team All-American or a first-team All-Conference type of thing, I like your team more, frankly. Yep. I think having that first pick and choosing a wing and me going with Peterson sets you up to have the better front court in terms of just scoring potential. Yeah. I tried to build a team based on how they'd fit together. So I think there was different approaches there, but I mean, your team's going to score the rock flat out as long as they pass the ball and coexist. But as Calipari's had, they've had some teams that either don't end or don't pass. So I'm hoping for one of those as a selfish hater right now.
I appreciate that, and we'll see what happens. So to wrap the show in just a second, Leif and I each are going to draft a bench player. We're each going to draft a coach that's in a first year at a new place. And then, Leif, I want to ask you who we left out. Who should we have taken, and who's sitting there in the green room like, why did you not take me? And we'll do that to wrap the show coming up here in just a second. All right, Leif, I tell you what, I know it's technically my pick, but and it's not a snake, but we finished our top 5. I want to allow you to pick first both times in this final segment. So you get first pick of bench player, and then you also get first pick of your head coach. Who you going with for your guy coming in off the bench?
Ooh, that's an interesting question. So I'm going to go with a guy who's plug and play. He's not going to be his best player in his team. He's not going to be the next best player in his team. I'm going with Nick Kamania from Duke. He's 6'8" and he shoots the ball. I think there's no area where that's a weakness in today. I have some more high potential guys that I thought about, but I think he's going to fill it up. I think he's going to knock down shots, get me some boards, play high IQ basketball. So I'm filling it with a really solid player.
Oh man, Leif, I take it back. You cannot actually have the first pick of the bench part of this draft because I would like Nick Kamania. No, I'm just kidding. That's a great choice. It makes a ton of sense with what you already have there. And so I just think that makes a ton of sense for you. Would have loved to have him. I think, it's almost similar to thinking about maybe Con Knippel, what he was for Duke this year with going on just like kind of underrated because Cooper Flagg was the highlight player. It's the same kind of thing in some ways where it's like all the attention is on the Boozers and specifically Cam. But I think Nick Kamania is going to be able to do a lot of things coming out for the Blue Devils this year. And so, man, I think that is a great choice for you. And I hate it, but I like it. I'm going to do something similar here where I just want a dude with some good positional size. It's going to shoot. I think he's got, I like his attitude. I like what he does. And so I'm going to go with Braylon Mullins heading off to UConn, 6'4" shooting guard. Like just from some of what I watched, I think Danny Hurley's going to love him because I think he's got some Danny Hurley like in him. You know what I'm saying? And so I think Braylon Mullins is the choice for me here coming off my bench. Somebody that's just, on a team full of guys who are like, I need the ball. I think Braylon Mullins can just float and rein it in from outside.
I like it. I before we do the draft, I have one guy that I thought about, and this is if I wanted like a spark plug, like a true put the ball in his hands and really score the rock, I was thinking about picking Jasper Johnson from Kentucky.
I thought about, yep.
And I think it fits my team in a sense, but I wanted to take a shooter because I have a lot of athletes. And so I took Homania's like well-known shooting track record as opposed to shot making that is more reminiscent of, a Rob Dillingham as opposed to a Con Knippel. And so both were electric in their own regard, but it was one that I thought was more projectable. But I wanted to give him a shout out because I wouldn't be surprised if he's one of the top 2 scorers on a loaded Kentucky team.
Yeah, absolutely. What's fun, I agree with your assessment there. I think he fits a lot better with your crew than if I had added him off of my bench. Certainly love Jasper Johnson, and I think he's going to be great this year, and Mark Pope is going to love that dude. All right, Leif, we got to get a coach. As a reminder for those who maybe missed it, we are drafting a coach to be the head coach of our team. That is a new coach in a new place. Doesn't have to be a freshman coach, as these players are all freshmen, just somebody who is the first year as the head coach at his school. So, Leif, you get the first pick on this one as well. Who you going with?
I'm taking the best coach available, even though it doesn't necessarily fit how I envision this team playing. I've been singing his praises for over a year. I'm going Ben McCollum of Iowa.
No!
Because Ben McCollum, for those of you who have listened loyally, the everydayers, I talked about Ben McCollum going to Indiana before the season started. And I was like, yeah, I don't believe in Woodson. There's a guy at Drake who's fantastic, and they're going to be good again. And here we go. Bennett Sturts, blah, 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 hype train. Well, he went to Iowa. I was off by a slight bit, a little geographical hiccup, but he's the best coach available. He's going to play 358th in pace despite my athleticism, but we're going to win every game 62-58, and I'm going to love it.
You know what? It's a Big Ten school that starts with I think that's what you said, and you definitely got that. I love the idea that the difference between Iowa and Indiana is just a geographical hiccup. That's hilarious. Leif, you stole him right out from under me. Ben McCollum, you know what? You took both guys that I wanted. I retract. I am picking first in this segment, not you know. Look, Ben McCollum has won at every level he's been at. Multiple time national championship at the D2, national champion head coach at the D2 level, came to Drake after Darryn DeVries left and just won and won and won. It is kind of funny that Darryn DeVries is now the guy that's at Indiana after a year at West Virginia. And so, dude, I think that's a great pick. There are a lot of coaches that I'm thinking about here. Will Wade, obviously from McNeese to NC State, can do it. Sean Miller leaves Xavier again to go to Texas. Ryan Odom, I'm really intrigued by as he leaves VCU to go to Virginia. Kevin Willard's an interesting thought as he, in disgrace, maybe leaves or just things didn't go well as he left Maryland to head off to Villanova. Hopefully, the Wildcats can get back there. Leif, I think because of who you took, I'm just going to go wildly contrasting style. Who does that give you any indication who I'm going to take?
You're taking Will Wade.
I thought, well, that makes a lot of sense with contrasting style. I want Bucky McMillan leaving Samford and going to Texas. That. With you taking just like Ben McCollum going at like near the end in pace, I want Bucky Ball. I want the craziness. My thought is I've got all these athletes like and Bucky McMillan with Bucky Ball's craziness, I think could use all that athleticism and just go wild. And so I think that would be a lot of fun. Obviously, if this was an actual world, I would need to draft about 37 more bodies to be able to handle Bucky Ball pace. But I just think it's hilarious to think about our two teams squaring off and Bucky Ball trying to speed up Ben McCollum Ball while Ben's team is trying to slow everything down. I just think that's hilarious.
Yeah, the interesting thing is if I were to truly pick a team for my athleticism level, I don't think I'd go with McCollum. I just think he's the best coach, so I'd probably get the best results because he wins everywhere he goes. Sure. I think if I were to go based on style of where the way that would be most conducive for most of these players, I would have gone with Will Wade. And an interesting thought would have been Sean Miller because Sean Miller gets great offense out of any team he has.
Yes.
And therefore the ball is going to be shared. It's going to be an egalitarian attack, but I don't know if I want him coaching up my defense. And yeah, he's a gritty guy. He's from Pittsburgh. He's played in the Big East. He's coached the Big East. He's at Texas now. I've seen good things from Sean Miller on the defensive side of the ball, but I want to just lock in defensively and slow the pace down, win the game with the defensive tenacity that I've got in my front court of Koa, Pete, and Chris Sinak. And dude, McCollum does not lose. The guy is absolutely nails. And so he takes a team that lost Darren DeVries. It lost its other transfers. They went to Texas, like Julian Larry, Jason Kent, all these great guys who've been there for a long time. And then Xavier Conwell, like you lose all your talent. They take guys up from the D2 level and win around in the NCAA tournament against one of the better teams in the SEC and push another team to the wire. Like this is a guy that is going to be a standout coach for a long time. Like I was in great hands. So I just had to take the guy that I think is the best available.
Yeah, man, that's good. I love I think to your point about Sean Miller, I think he would have been a great coach for my offense as well. So let me recap the teams for us really quick. And then Leif, let's just mention a couple names of players we didn't take that'll just be, as we're just trying to raise awareness for people here in the summer of some freshmen they should be watching. So Leif's team, Darryn Peterson at the 1. We've got Elijah Arenas, yes, Gilbert's son, who is playing at USC at the 2. We've got Tunde Yesufu, who will be in Waco playing for Baylor at the 3. Koa Pete going to Arizona. Funny enough, what up, Sean Miller at the 4. Going to be great for Tommy Lloyd, man. I'm so excited about that. Just played for him, by the way. Tommy Lloyd was that FIBA coach. And then talking about defense in Houston, Chris Senak will be headed to Houston to play for Kelvin Sampson. Great stuff there. Nick Homenia from Duke off the bench. And then Ben McCollum, the winner's winner, the head coach of this team. My team, I will have both Mikkel Brown at Louisville and Darius Acuff from Arkansas in my backcourt. And then my 3, 4, 5, it's going to be interchangeable here, but we got AJ Dybantsa from BYU. We've got Nate Ament from Tennessee and Cam Boozer at Duke. So 2 Dukies. I didn't even think about that squaring off against each other here. And then Braylon Mullins coming off my bench to just light it up from outside, all coached by Bucky McMillan, leaving Samford, headed to Texas A&M. Going to be really interested to see that. All right, Leif, let's just name a couple guys that were left out of this draft that you really like and are excited to see.
Yeah, I think there's a couple that I would have probably taken had we gone 2 or 3 more deep. And first among them would be Braden Burries from Arizona. He's a 6'4" guard who I think he's a decent slasher, good shooter. And then the next one that I personally was invested to see him play, and I don't know how much he plays because he's going to be behind a very good backcourt, is Isaiah Harwell. I really like what he done. He actually played on the Utah Prospects, so I've seen him plenty. He was at Wasatch Academy, and I'm curious to see what he does because he's really shot up the boards over the last couple of years rather than just being kind of a local kid. Now he went to Houston. He's a top 15 recruit in the country. So those are 2 that just stood out to me, but I'm not sure about the playing time opportunity for him at the end.
Yep. Harwell, man, is another one of these guys. So for those who don't know, he's another guy that had some injuries. There's some injury concern there that he's coming off of. For a while, I thought he was going to wind up at Gonzaga, ended up going to Houston, and it just feels Leif like another guy that just has that attitude. He's willing to go to Houston. He benefits from Pop Isaacs leaving so that they don't have Isaacs and Milo Suzanne. And so really excited to see what he brings. Has the talent, I think, to be a one and done, but because of role and NIL might be a guy we see stick around at Houston for a couple years. So that's a great point there. There was somebody else I was just thinking here too that I wanted to mention. Oh, Caden Boozer, Cam's brother, I think is a phenomenal point guard. I would not be shocked if he ends up finding his way into the starting lineup.
Oh, Duke, for sure. I think he's way better than Caleb Foster. I expect him by mid-season to be the starting lineup, starting
agreed.
Point guard for Duke.
It's the kind of thing Duke tried to do this last year, and it didn't work out with Foster last year. I think the same thing's going to happen. Just like we said, Cam just wins everywhere he goes. Caden wins everywhere he goes. So I think he is Duke's starting 5 alongside, a whole host of other things. I just think that's going to be the change that Coach Shire needs to make at some point. Poor Caleb Foster, it's going to happen to him again, but I think it's the way to do it. Caleb Wilson going to be at North Carolina this year. Hearing a lot of great things out of Chapel Hill about what he's going to bring to the table. And obviously, Leif, there's a ton more names we could mention. Really interesting. Notre Dame has Jalen Harrelson coming in from La Lumiere. He's a top 20 kind of kid. So a lot there. Really interesting stuff. Norin Reed in the Rad in the chat, Leif, is saying he would have gone with Patino. And folks, when you say Patino, he didn't leave St. John's. Now we're talking about Richard Patino, Leif, who leaves the desert to go join the Big East where he'll get to play his dad. Norin, I like that take as well. Leif, any wrap-up thoughts before we end it and get out of here?
The one thing that stands out to me is if these teams played, it would be an exhibition game, especially if they played the coach's style, because it would be so contrasting. I do think I'm reading these comments as well from Nor and Red, and I agree. Isaac's team probably has more talent. I want to remind you he was benefited with the top pick, won a coin flip, and there was not a snake draft. But I do think that the way that we there was two heads on that coin. I'll just let you know.
No, look, here's the tails. You said tails never fails, and it did. Mwah. This thing is beautiful.
But I built a team that's built to win basketball games. He built a talent. He built a McDonald's All-American team roster. And Ben McCollum's a winner. He'll win.
Man, I tell you what though, Leif, I would sign up to watch this basketball game over and over and over again for a multitude of reasons. It's so fun. Love this draft. Love having so many fun folks in the chat with us here. Norin says back, tables were turned against Leif, but the rules are the rules. Leif, Norin sticking it to you here on a Thursday at lunchtime. He's got his saucy lunch pants on, and we love it. This was fun. Gang, we'd love to hear from you. What freshmen are you excited to see? Let us know in the chat about that. Folks, we will be back with you on Friday to wrap up the week. Andy and I recording together at some point on Thursday. We're going to have another Friday Facts edition coming at you. We've been doing these trivias. Lots of fun there. Leif, we need to get you in on some trivia because I know you love doing those trivia competitions, man. And so maybe we'll bring that around to a Leaf episode here next week or the week after, something like that. Hope you all enjoy your Thursday. If you haven't subscribed to the show on both YouTube and audio, make sure you do that so you don't miss a second of Locked On College Basketball. If you're not part of the Locked On College Basketball Discord, man, that's a place where we're talking college basketball all summer long, off season, in season. We'd love to have you there. That link is in the show notes. Man, come join us. It's free. As always, we want to say apologies to the Lawyer family. Let's go Wild Popes. Cheers to our guy, McBruins. And until tomorrow, peace.